Hi everybody, it's Mr. Bruner. We're going to be taking a look at making our first part in Onshape. First we're going to open up our CAD program. And then we're going to end up creating a new part in it. This part is going to be called die. We're going to be making a single die from a pair of dice. Now what I've also shared with you, and if I haven't, take a look at it, is that you will also have access to our team page. Our team page will have all of our practice problems that we're going to be working on, so that way you can see and work on it. And if you take a look, you can see that we have one named die here. This is going to allow you to see the dimensions and what the physical object should look like when it's all said and done. So here's what the part's going to look like. You can look and orbit around it. Just very simple and straightforward. And then we also have a drawing one at the bottom. This drawing has all of the different dimensions. It's an engineering drawing. And you can see it explains where everything is located, and then it has a note explaining how everything should be placed. So essentially everything should be centered or should be placed 7/8 or 0.875 away from the edge. So all of these circles are 7/8 of an inch away from the edge. So let's take a look at what we need to do in order to make this. So first thing that we're going to do is create a sketch on our top view. You could actually use the right view or the front view. As we talked about in the other video, we can then hit N and then P to get ourselves started. Then we can use our rectangle tool. I want to point out the fact that there's a drop down arrow that actually gives you the opportunity to make two different types of rectangles. So for this one, I'm actually going to choose center point, so that way we can make one coming out from our center. And unlike before, I'm going to utilize the fact that there's a little white box here and type in 5 and hit enter, and then you'll see it'll jump to this one, hit 5 and enter. This allows me to create dimensions without having to click or use another tool later on. It's just a little bit faster. Now that we have this, we're going to go ahead and click on our extrude button. I always like to orbit my screen around so I can see which direction and how this is orbiting. Sometimes when you're looking straight down on top of it, you really don't get a good perspective of what's actually happening. So we're going to make a solid cube, 5 by 5 by 5 by 5, and that's how we get started. Now that we have this started, we're going to go ahead and create a new sketch on our top of our cube. Now this is really important. We're not going to be creating a new sketch on our top plane. Instead, we're going to be creating a new sketch on the top of our object. So create a new sketch, click on the top of our object, which in this case is face of extrude 1. Again, I hit N for normal. Then I can come up, click my circle tool, grab that center right there. You can see how it's perfectly in the center. And then I'm going to set this dimension to 1 inch. Now that I have it at 1 inch, I can extrude this, but instead of it popping out, I'm actually going to remove, so that way it goes in. You can see how it pops in now, removing material, and set this to a depth of 0.25 inches, and there's our first side. I can continue around, making the front view here. I'm going to do the 2, and I'm actually just going to create 2 circles here really quick since I already have the tool active. I'm then going to create the size of them, so I'm going to set this to 1. I'm going to set this one to 1. And then with my dimension tool, I can click on the center of the circle to the edge, and I can set this to 7/8. So you can see it actually does fraction to decimal for us. If you wanted to type in 0.875, feel free to. And the same thing here. Now that that's done, we can go ahead and extrude and remove, setting our depth, put to 0.25 and hitting enter. Now we're going to go onto the side that has the 3 dots on it, but I want to point out the way that our feature tree looks over here. Right now you can see that there's a sketch followed by extrude. Sketch, extrude, sketch, extrude. This is the way that they should look on very simple objects. If you start to make really complicated things in the future, this can change and it doesn't have to look this way. But for making simple things, this is the order of operations that you should probably be following. And the really nice thing is that since this is a parametric CAD program, it allows you to go back and change anything. So if I wanted to make a cube a different size, I could just click on sketch 1, double clicking on it, and now I can actually modify how big this is. And it'll actually automatically update everything to go with. If I hit Control Z, you can see it goes back to the original size. This means that in any of these features, I can go back, double click, and modify them however I see fit, adding, changing, reorganizing them however I want. So let's go ahead and take a look at creating our number 3 side. On this one, I'm going to do something a little bit fancier. I'm going to create a line, but I'm going to make it a construction line. So the construction line is going to go diagonal, corner to corner, and you can see how it's dashed. Now that's really important, and I'll show you why in a second. And then using my hotkey for circle, which is C, I'm now going to create a point right in the middle, and then my 2 other diagonal ones. Now taking all 3 of these, instead of individually dimensioning them, I can use some of my constraints up here, and this one in particular, I can set them all to be the equal size. So now they all move together. And when I dimension one of them at 1 inch, they all change to go with it. Now you'll notice the changing colors here. This one in the middle is completely black, whereas these 2 are blue. Blue means that it is not fully constrained, and you can see that by the fact that it can be moved around. This black one cannot be moved in any way, shape, or form. And as we add dimensions, we will actually lock our pieces in place, turning them black. It's really important to try to have everything black. This is going to allow your entire part to be manipulated actually a lot easier as you move forward and your designs get more complicated. Then we can extrude, remove, and hit OK, and we have our 3 sides started. Now to finish this off, all you have to do is look at these 3 sides and then make the opposite side add up to 7. So we have 3 here, 4 is going to go here, we have 2 on this side, 5 here, and 6 on the bottom. Go ahead and take some time following these simple steps, making sure that your feature tree stays nice and organized and everything stays nice and locked in and a nice black color for fully constrained, and see if you can get the die done.